PlayStation. The Sony PlayStation finally hits British streets next week, and there's so many games available at the launch you couldn't fit them inside a fat bloke's brassiere. One of the biggest of these is the Polygon punch-up Toshinden. We got our regular reviewers Rick and Dave to give it the once-over.
When I first saw Toshinden on the PlayStation when it came out on import, I thought it was Virtua Fighter with huge weaponry, and it certainly showed the 3D capabilities of the PlayStation.
The trouble is, the game has no capacity for combos, it has no special moves, and it has no secret characters, so it doesn't really have the longevity that more established beat-em-ups on the market can offer.
It's great for the average beat-em-up fan, which I certainly am. I'm not a great beat-em-up fan, but I really like Toshinden.
Mortal Kombat 3 is another major beat-em-up title that Sony will be releasing over the next couple of months, appearing a full 6 months before it hits the Saturn. This conversion will be pouring on dollops of brand new characters and topping it off with gag-laden fatalities. While arcade classic Tekken looks like it might just wipe the floor with all of them. Another feature of the PlayStation is its link-up facility. If your pal's got one and you don't mind lugging your telly around to his house, you can link them together and play twin perspective games just like the arcades. The first one to take advantage of this is the one you saw the Shaman play, Wipeout.
Wipeout is certainly the buzz game at the moment on the Sony PlayStation. It combines breakneck speed with futuristic racing, with huge power-ups and awesome firepower. The problem with Wipeout is sometimes it's just a little bit too fast. You're controlling a hovercraft instead of a normal racing car, so you don't get the normal grip and sliding feel that you do in racing games, so the control method can be a bit tricky. And I think maybe this could be a problem with it. Maybe the difficulty level is set just a little too high for beginners.
Yeah, I disagree completely. The playability is set just right for me. The pickups are all the way through the game. You have very many different styles of weapon. You also have different speed-up ramps, and on the tracks you can go one way or another. It's absolutely superb, although I do agree it is a bit too tough. But then it has to be tough to remain playable, and heck, it's even got Left Field Orbital and the Chemical Brothers doing the soundtrack.
Don't get me wrong, Wipeout is an awesome game. It's probably the PlayStation racer of the moment. It has 12 tracks compared to Ridge Racer's 1, and it even has a 2-player link-up facility.
If I don't, then you're going to be in trouble. I might even give you a bit of a kicking, who knows? Okay then, like I said, I don't have much time left, but while they get those last couple of special moves out, we'll take a look at today's reviews. First up, the best looking football thing since that Lady and the Manageress, Goldstorm on the Sony PlayStation.
It's got everything. It's got the animation, it's got little flick-ups, it's got overhead kicks, it's got free kicks, penalties, and some amazing swooping around the pitch effects.
My only quibble with what is the PlayStation's first football game is with the sound. The music's a little bit mundane at the moment, and also the players sound like they're walking on packets of Walker's crisps.
I think the sound's okay. This is the definitive console football game. It's brilliant. It kicks Victory Goal, the Sega Saturn alternative, right out of the ballpark.
Now, the Mario Gang return on the Super NES to make Jimmy Nintendo another bundle of yen in Yoshi's Island.
The main difference from previous Mario games is that you're now controlling Yoshi, and Yoshi moves very differently to the old Mario sprite. He doesn't jump quite as well, and he has a long tongue he can use to grab things like flowers and various pickups along the way, which he then turns into a stone or an egg to fire at the enemies. This takes some mastering.
There are 6 worlds in Yoshi's Island, and on each world there are 10 levels. And although it seems very small in comparison to other Mario games, it's actually such a tough game.
All this time after Donkey Kong, do Nintendo owners need another Mario game? I think they do. I think there's always room for another Mario game.
Welcome back. Mortal Kombat 3 on the PlayStation has what's called a 6-month exclusivity window. This means if you bought a copy now and stood in the street waving it like a madman, 6 months later some bloke would come along doing the same with the Saturn version. So let's go over to Rick and Dave to find out if those 6 months would be full of gay joy. The latest Mortal Kombat outing hits the stores next month, with 7 new characters as well as the return of Sonya and Kano, plus the added bonus of animalities and combos. PlayStation Power means combat-crazed boy men can expect a near-perfect conversion of the arcade game, but haven't we seen it all before?
There's codes in there, and there's now animalities, which were always rumoured to have been in the previous game. But I'm not sure that this really adds anything to the genre, and with games like Tekken and the new 3D environments to fight in, I think Mortal Kombat may actually have had its day.
OK, it's not a great improvement over Mortal Kombat 2, but hey, we haven't seen a Mortal Kombat game on a PlayStation ever. It's got huge and very speedy graphics. It's also got code words. It'll give you extra characters, it'll give everything you ever want from a Mortal Kombat game, and more. I hope this is the last one, but it's certainly a good way to go out.
It's certainly monster, and I'm going to be playing it. I know you're going to be playing it. All I'm saying is, don't expect too much.
Top finger-pointing action, Dave.
Finish him.
First up, Dave and Rick tried to look moody over the Saturn's Virtua Fighter remix. This means they got some hip DJ in to add a couple of drum beats and a chicka-chicka-huh noise. Or maybe not.
Well, Virtua Fighter really has been the Saturn's flagship game, and Virtua Fighter Remix bridges the gap between Virtua Fighter and Virtua Fighter 2. It's all the usual characters from the first game, but they've all been guru shaded like in the second game. And it's really quite good, although there aren't many differences in the playability.
I've never been a great Virtua Fighter fan. I've never liked the playability itself, and I certainly didn't like the graphics. So they have improved at least one of my quibbles. The only problem is, I still don't like the playability. It's still, to me, the slowest of the fighting games, 3D fighting games, I hasten to add, that are on the market.
KO.
Next up, top arcade racing action ahoy on the PC with Screamer. And being a Virgin game, expect some crazy controversial ad campaign to follow.
Screamer finally brings console racing action to the home computer. Basically, this is Ridge Racer for the PC, combining glorious graphics and impressive speed. In fact, this is probably the best racing game I've seen on this format.
It is certainly the best arcade racing game on this format, but that's what's inherently wrong about driving games on the PC. The PC owner is a more discerning person. They need more. They can't have the absolute speed that a console version of the same type of game would have.
For me, this game had it all. It had arcade action, nice tracks, good rivals, 8-player playability, everything I wanted on a PC.
Finally, Destruction Derby on the PlayStation is a game that encourages you to smash into other cars, which isn't big or clever and can have your eye out if you're not careful.
It looks like Ridge Racer. It's got fantastic graphics, especially when your car gets battered around by the opposition. Certainly in Destruction Derby mode, where you're centred in the middle of an entire arena and cars just pummel you into the sides. The only problem is, it's got no playability.
Yeah, I think the problem with Destruction Derby is perhaps they've tried to make it a little bit too realistic. They've taken all the fun out of it. It is just like driving a real car. When you do damage, you see damage on the car, you see damage on the other cars. There's no guns in it, though. There's no fantasy. You want a bit of fantasy in your games playing. And most of all, they've tried to make it like rock and roll racing. They've got the commentary in there and everything, but there's none of the playability, none of the fun.